Ooka and the honest thief. Now it so happened in the days of old Yedo that everyone considered a thief dishonest, even as they do today. So it was somewhat of a shock to Yahichi when his honorable honor, the great judge Ooka, solemnly decreed that Gonta, while admittedly a thief, was an honest thief. Now Ooka was famous for his odd decisions. After hearing the great judge accused a statue of theft, judged a man guilty of stealing a smell, and even sentencing himself to death on one shocking occasion, Yahichi was prepared for most anything to happen in Ooka's court. However, he could not understand how a man could be both honest and a thief at the same time. All this came about when Yahichi, operator of the Komea, a rice store, complained to Ooka that each night a measure of his rice vanished. It was such a small amount that I hesitate to trouble your honorable honor, Yahichi said, bumping his head against the mat to show proper respect for the great magistrate. But I am reminded of the story of the mountain that was reduced to a level plain because a single grain was stolen from it every day for centuries. That is true, Ooka said gravely. Besides, it is just as dishonest to steal one grain of rice as it is an ipya, a large sack. Did you take proper steps to guard your property? My lord, I stationed a guard with the rice each night, but still it disappears. I am convinced there is something supernatural involved. Perhaps a fox witch is taking it, the rice merchant said, pulling his white beard nervously. What about your guard? Can he be trusted? Ooka asked. Absolutely, Ooka, Yahichi said. The guard is Chobei. He has served my family for more than 75 years. He came to us when he was 5 years old. Yes, I know Chobei, Ooka said. He is the most conscientious man. It is impossible to consider him a thief, but maybe he is falling asleep. After all, 80 is quite old for a guard. What's old about 80? Yahichi asked. I'm 81 and I have never been more alert in my life. Perhaps Chobei is not as alert as you are, Ooka suggested diplomatically. I thought of that, Yahichi replied, so I stood guard with him these last 3 nights. The rice vanished just the same. In that case, I will stand guard with you tonight, Ooka said. If a fox witch is bewitching you, we'll see if she can enchant me. And so Ooka joined the rice merchant and his retainer, Chobei, that night in the Komea. It was not long before as Ooka suspected would be the case, the 2 men were snoring loudly. Ooka smiled. He was certain that when they awoke, each would insist that he had only nodded and had not slept at all. And about an hour past the witching time of midnight, there was a slight sound outside the building. Ooka sprang to his feet, but the sound was not repeated. He thought that perhaps he had been mistaken and it was only the wind. He cautiously peered out the window and found himself staring straight into the shadowed face of a man. He recognized Gonta, a laborer who had been out of work for some time. The man was rooted by fear. Ooka hesitated to arrest him. After all, Gonta had not entered the Komea. Ooka had made the mistake of revealing himself too early. Later, the man could plead in court that he had no intention of robbing the rice shop, but had merely lost his way in the dark. Since Ooka was well inside where the darkness prevented Gonta from recognizing who he was, the great judge decided to act like a thief himself. This way, he hoped to trap Gonta into completing his crime. You have obviously come to steal some rice, just as I have, Ooka said slyly, speaking in a harsh tone to disguise his voice. Gonta looked relieved to hear that it was another thief instead of a guard that confronted him. As a favor from one thief to another, Ooka added, I will pass the rice out to you. That way you need not risk coming in yourself. Gonta thanked him profusely and for this courtesy among thieves. Ooka picked up a ipyo of rice and handed a large bag out to Gonta. This is too much, Gonta protested. I only want a single show. If you are going to steal, make it enough to justify the risk, Ooka replied. If Ooka catches you, you will be punished as much for stealing a single grain as you will for stealing a whole ipyo. But that would be dishonest, Gonta said indignantly. I take just enough to feed my family for a single day. For each day I hope I will find a job and not have to steal any more. If I ever find a job, I intend to return all I have taken. Therefore, I refuse to take more than just enough for our daily meal. He dipped one show of rice from the big bag and handed the sack back to the astonished judge. Ooka watched him disappear into the night. When the shopkeeper and his guard awoke, Ooka told them what happened. After they got over their confusion at being caught asleep, Yahichi asked Ooka why Ooka had not arrested the man. Well, Gonta is certainly a thief, Ooka replied. I'm convinced that he is an honest one, for he refused to steal more than he needed. But Lord Ooka, how can a man be a thief and honest at the same time? I had never believed it possible, but it is so, Ooka said. Now the shogun Banzai for Yoshimune has charged his judges with punishing wickedness and rewarding virtue wherever it occurs. It seems to me that this is a case of both, but Lord Ooka, but nothing. Tomorrow I will see that a job is provided for Gonta, which is sufficient to free his family and still leave just enough for him to repay the day's portion he stole. If he sneaks here and places the extra amount each night, then I will prove my belief that he is an honest thief. And it was done as the great judge decreed. A job was secretly provided for the thief who never knew that Ooka had a hand in it. Just as the judge suspected, each night Gonta took the show of rice left from his day's earnings and slipped into the komeya and left it. Now it is not to be supposed that Gonta had things easy. Ooka put all manner of obstacles in his way to make it difficult for the man to get back into the shop each night. Gonta nearly died 1,000 deaths from worry that he would be caught, but this did not stop him from returning the rice anyway. His nerves were almost shattered by the time he was ready to return the last installment of the stolen rice. Observing Gonta's torment, Yahichi admitted that this was sufficient punishment for the man's crime. He told Ooka so. The great judge only smiled and wrote out a small scroll, which he ordered Yahichi to leave on top of the rice barrel for Gonta to see. So when the honest thief slipped fearfully into the komeya to return the last of the stolen rice, he was shocked to see the note written in Ooka's bold script. You owe an additional 10% for interest. Signed, Ooka, a Chizon no Kami Machi Bugyo of Yedo. P.S. Honesty is the best policy.